too familiar with pain, or too familiar with pride. I've been on my knees 6, but gotten upset.
I don't think I actually showed what kind of potential I had. I could actually have become the best jungler in the EU, but I made so many mistakes last year.
Now Momento's caught out of position, doesn't get the flash across the wall, gets stunned up, and NIP are wrecking.
I want everyone to be the best on this team, and I will make sure that we will be.
All of a sudden, Zach pulls in too. Indeed, he's going live. He can't save anyone's life, but the redemption's not going to do a thing. Blake shuffles him right back in. Wonder is way too late to this party, and it is a triple kill from Blake.
I love the game, man.
I played pretty bad in the last split in LCS.
Lately, their careers have been on a downward trajectory.
I'm here in GIA for prove to all these guys that I'm good.
Testing the Joker's waiting right there. That's going to be a death sentence for Totoro.
We're coming in with 3 rookies. Our rookies are really hungry and they're looking to prove themselves.
From the multi and I'm like, I'm flanking. And I'm like, what they're doing? They can't do that. I will kill them all. And then my team come and I get the triple into quadra after.
Obviously, we're a new team, so we're gonna start out slow. But as long as we keep steadily improving, we'll become beasts.
The Nexus is gonna boom, and H2K take the win. What a turnaround! H2K pulled off a fantastic upset against Fnatic.
We're coming in with a lot of motivation, with a lot of talent, and I don't see anyone stopping us.
And for the first time in history, the 4th consecutive EU LCS title, G2 Esports.
Misfits, the underdogs in this game. No one expected anything but they hit hard.
Yankos, the first Black King! Let's make this a clean fight.
Welcome to week 2 of the EU LCS Spring Split. We've already had a lot of twists and turns, and with 10 new games coming up, we are ready to see what kind of surprises this week will bring. Well, I know who's next to me. That is no surprise. It's Martin Fischer Lunge, and I'm Eve Shishog supporter. Are you ready for all the twists and turns this week?
Yeah, again, I'm looking forward to seeing who's actually going to win, because last week I feel like everyone beat each other. Kind of European tradition.
Best
Maybe it's
of
the same
ones
this one.
also.
It's also best of ones. There will be more upsets, of course.
We'll see what happens. Well, week 1 was a lot of back and forth as reflected in the standings, with 8 teams tied after going 1-1 in their first 2 games. The only teams that have another record, there's Vitality, 2-0 at the top, and Unicorns of Love, unfortunately, 0. That was
Unlucky.
unlucky for them that we also called them out, but with 36 roster changes going into the split, it's very hard to predict who will be the best. But the Fisho, are you seeing some front runners for you?
Oh, it's very early. I think Fnatic's early game is great. I like how Vitality are playing as well, very aggressive in there, but it's too early in the split to already call who's going to be at the top. But again, I got my eyes on the classic top teams, Fnatic and G2, and I still think Schalke is going to end top 3.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of faith in them. What stood out to me, though, was in week 1, the rise of the underdogs. We also saw it in our wonderful video just now. Giants, Roccat, and H2K, they defied expectations and they took down the heavyweights, Unicorns of Love, G2, and Fnatic. And that was, for me, definitely unexpected that they were able to put on such a strong performance in week 1, rather.
I'm very happy when we have these new rosters where there's a lot of new players, or there's some veterans who's not really shown a whole lot in the last few years come together and then very quickly start having some impressive games, because it makes it much more exciting when you're looking forward to all these different matchups, because now we have like a Giants versus G2. And I don't even know who's going to win, because Giants are playing very well at the moment, and one of the reasons for that is Ruin up in the top lane.
That Ornn play!
You know, 1v2 outplays, the way he's using his advantage later on is amazing to watch. Blank in the mid lane from Rocket's side, getting early kills and carrying team fights. And then we have this very young AD carry, Sheriff, as well in H2K, taking down Fnatic, playing Vayne. Like, such a good game from him.
Yeah, it was such a statement also to pick Vayne for him in that game and then come back with it. He took the fight to Fnatic with his Vayne. And if you also want to know a bit more about H2K's rookie AD carry, head over to EULOLesports.com where you can check out an interview with Sheriff. But finally, there was one team that stood out above the rest. We're going to jump to enormous conclusions immediately. Vitality is the best team in Europe.
Best team in the world, I think you actually want to say here. Most exciting set of rookies since Misfits. We've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I look at Jizuke, I look at Mini Truebex and Jack Troll, and I think these three guys came on the big stage and they played exactly like in Challenger. No fear at all, aggressive, all in. Multiple times we see Mini Truebex in team fights just staying in the front line, hitting people left and right. Jizuke on the rise.
And I also believe you said before, those games you said, what I want to see is a Vitality that is aggressive, that is hungry. And I feel like that is exactly what we saw on the Rift.
Yeah, Vitality the last 2 years have not done a whole lot in their games. This new lineup, also with Gilius and Caprashot, it's a completely new identity, and I'm actually so happy to see an aggressive Vitality.
So I'm going to jump the gun and ask you something that you cannot possibly know, but is this the roster that will lead Vitality to their first playoffs since 2016?
I'm going to say
top
yes.
6. Yeah.
This roster will be top 6. Will Vitality win Worlds? Probably not.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Vitality will be tested to the limits this week as they all go up against Fnatic and Misfits Gaming, two of the top teams from last year, and that is, of course, the big question. Vitality, can they keep it going versus the likes of Fnatic? There's some other interesting matchups. Schalke versus Unicorns of Love will be a great one to watch.
Exactly. Upset is back. He's playing this week. We obviously wanted to see him already last week, but he was sick. He's back in the roster, so we get the full force here from Fnatic side, from Schalke side. Unicorns of Love as well, the only 0-2 team after week 1. They need to bounce back, and it needs to happen fast.
Well, we've talked a bit about every team. Splyce versus Roccat is our second game of the day. Splyce 1-1, Roccat 1-1, so close one. We're going to have a deeper dive later, but how are you looking forward to that matchup?
I think that's one of those like really 50-50s for me. You look at Roccat and how they played against G2, that was great, but then they also had a really poor performance on day 1. Shaky start from Splyce's side. I think they can bounce back. I think they can fix the issue.
So let me ask you something. Is there any one of these matchups that isn't a 50-50 after last week for you?
Oh, I'm saying Schalke, they get like a 70-30 for me. I'm going to give Misfits 60-40 as well. I think give G2 60-40 in that one. 50-50 Splyce Roccat. Vitality Fnatic, 55 for Fnatic, 45 for Vitality.
Gilius is angry already.
I know, it's fine.
It's going to be amazing to see what he does with that on the Rift. Well, we'll see. It is time to kick off another action-packed week here in the EU LCS as we leave it to the casters for our first game between Giants and G2.
Thank you very much, Shucks. And good evening, everybody. I'm Trevor Quickshy Henry, joined at the cast desk by Andrew Vedius Day.
Hello, good sir. How the devil are you?
I'm fantastic,
wonderful,
darling.
wonderful.
Let's meet the Giants who had side selection for this game and picked blue side. With the man in the top lane, it is Ruin. Joko in the jungle, Betsy in the mid lane, Steelback and Targamas in carry and support, and the coach, the Rutrador.
Ooh, very exciting to see what this roster can bring out against their opposition, as they need no introduction. They are the 4-time and current European LCS champions, G2 Esports. Wunder in the top lane, Yankus in the jungle, their mid laner Perks, AD carry and support Hyanan and Wadid, alongside Coach Grabs.
And of course, as we're getting ready for this game, just a reminder that both of these squads replaced 4 of the members from the last time we saw them at the end of 2017. Obviously, the current King of Europe, Perks. And when you look at the other side, the defending remaining Giants member, Ruin. Back then, he was considered one of the weaker of the players. But in week 1, Ruin showed up. I mean, Shox and Defisher were talking about that highlight play. I've actually got that ready for you to look at in a moment. But talk me through Ruin and why we're so excited about him after just 1 week.
Not only has this guy been consistent during the laning phase, but he turns those early game leads into mid-game advantages for his teams. The way he roams around the map, the way he's grouping up with his team and forcing these amazing plays, this has been a rookie that has really stepped up in the very first week of 2018.
We'll see what he can do today, going up against Wunder. Slightly more difficult opponent, maybe a lot more of a difficult opponent than White Knight. Break down the matchup for me. What do you like or dislike?
Well, I think it's going to be really exciting to see how both influence these later game team fights. When you look at an individual like Wunder, just look at his kill participation. This guy has been involved in so many of the kills that G2 have been building up for themselves. And he is an experienced player. He's been with the Splyce roster for around 2 years now. And joining with G2, joined with some of the veteran talent, you can see that how well he's meshing with them and how much of a contribution he's had.
Well, we'll see whether or not Wunder or Ruin will get the better of today's matchup. We're getting ready for picks and bans. It is still patch 8.1, so it is not 8.2 that you guys are currently playing at home on live. Last week, we saw Ruin playing those tanks, playing pretty well on those tanks. What else can we expect to see in picks and bans, Vedius?
Well, when you look at down the priorities, we've actually seen a lot of Gnar coming out from the European squads. It's a fairly safe blind pick. You can pick it into a variety of different champions as well as the tanks and to many carry matchups. But I feel like Giants, they're going to stick with these safe compositions where you have tanks from Ruin and Joko. They provide the engage, and then you rely on Betsy and Steelback to be the big damage dealers. And this basically safe mid to late game kind of comp.
All right, safe mid to late game. Mid to late game. We've not spent a lot of time there recently.
No, we have.
At
weird
all,
to say that.
You know? A little bit of sarcasm there, of course. Games running very long at the beginning of the season. GIA removed from G2 Esports, growing in popularity over in the LCK. Seeing a lot more of that. Another 80 carry taken off the pool. That's that Cogmore bans.
Interestingly, the Kalista ban, and we haven't seen a lot of her, but compared to last week, she was actually picked once, banned 9 times. Teams are very afraid in Europe to let her through the draft, and that is continuing with the blue side ban from the side of Giants.
One of only 3 champions that holds 100% presence. That means picks or bans. Kalista, Sejuani, and Tom Kench. Obviously, Kalista the most banned. Rise will round out the bans. That means Perks is not going to get his hands on arguably his signature champion.
Yep.
And 1 ban left for G2 Esports. What are you starting to feel for final ban, first pick in terms of priorities?
You're looking at champions like Sejuani, Azir, both still very strong and available. With the Braum banned away, you're looking at a high increase in terms of valuing the Tom Kench, because you're looking at, you don't have that many answers left. But Giants saying, you know what, we want to secure a comfort pick for Joko. This is something he brought out and had an impressive performance with last week. I think it's a safe pick for Giants.
2 games played for Joko. He went 1-13 last week, so very good 7 KDA. Good performance from Giants. And let's see where G2 respond. Of course, with Rise off the table, Zia raises in popularity. Zoe still free if you want to go that route.
Yep.
As one of the other sort of core meta 8.1 mid laners that we see in professional play.
I wonder, I have heard of a few other counter picks that are, well, have acted as an answer. I think back to Senkux from last year, where he would bring things out like the Vel'Koz as an answer to champions like Azir. So it'll be interesting to see what Betsy does, because he has been known to bring out these interesting champions from time to time.
He has indeed, playing a couple of champions when several other people were not. G2 round out phase 1 by locking in the Ezreal. So already got some good poke, some good chunking tools.
Yeah, their siege from G2 is looking fantastic right now. Kleptomancy is still very strong on patch 8.1, which is why you'll see Ezreal still being a pretty high priority pick in the current meta. And for now, you're looking at Giants. Do they want to get themselves an early Tom Kench? Or do they want to... Ooh, okay, this is exciting.
Right, what do you like about Vigar? I've seen it a couple times in LPL, actually. Has the possibility to just insta-gib with that ultimate. Very, very exciting stuff. We'll see what Betsy can do with it, because, Vedius, like you said, Betsy has played some unique and interesting champions in years gone by.
Now, we did see it over in the LCK. Both Pawn and Kuro have played it. Both were into Azir. Often, it seems to be considered a bit of a counter matchup. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Betsy can do with it. We'll talk a little bit more once we get into game about how he does into Azir, but the Gnar also rounding things out for Giants. We talked about how it's a very safe, blind top lane pick. Giants focusing on getting their top side of the map, while G2 Esports round theirs out with a bit more of a scaling top lane.
What do you think of that? GP into the Gnar. Might be a little bit difficult as the lane breaks out. We'll explore that in a moment. At least the solo lane is locked in, as well as your 80 carry, so leaving Jankos and Wadid's picks for phase 2. Another 80 carry hits the dust. Steelback Siva is removed from the pool. And now Giants have to decide where they go with their bans.
So we're looking at jungle bans from the side of Giants. Remember that they have the Sejuani already locked in, whereas G2 yet to pick their jungler up. So things like the Kha'Zix going to likely be taken off the board and away from Jankos. Jarvan, Zac are unavailable, so now you're really going down in terms of priority. Things like Evelynn, Rengar, maybe even we saw a Gragas as a possibility going up against the Sejuani as well.
What about a Camille jungle?
That would be ambitious,
okay.
Certainly ambitious. I think we saw it from Kikis last year.
Trick just played it today as well. BBQ Olivers over in the LCK. So I'm going to see what Jankos decides to lock in, because like you said, Beris, the Kha'Zix is removed from the pool. And it's Skarner?
I was just
Are you kidding me?
I looked at my list and I was like, okay, Eve, Rengar. No, I won't mention Skarner. He's not going to get locked in. And then, oh wow, they actually decided to go for it. So many interesting champions. A lot for us to talk about when we get into game, Trevor. But let's have a look at how Giants choose to round out their roster.
Oh man, this is very exciting stuff. Gangplank, Ezreal, Azir, Skarner for G2 Esports. And W2D has the possibility to look for another playmaker. Come on, I know he can do it. It was what I enjoyed watching him do last year. The Giants roster feels a lot more traditional to me at the moment.
Yes, very, very standard coming out from the side of Giants. They have reasonable siege. They have a lot of good pick potential. Their team fighting is good. Their scaling is exceptional with Caitlyn and Veigar. And you want to see a bit of playmaking from W2D? It looks like he's going to round out his comp with the Thresh. So many interesting things to talk about here from the side of both teams. G2, they have good scaling with the Azir. Gangplank also does very well in the late stages of the game. Ezreal kind of falls off a little bit relative to the Caitlyn, but you can still see that their late game team fighting going to be very good. A lot of single target damage coming out from the side of G2 Esports, so which could make their team fights in the mid to late game a little harder, especially when you look at things like the Gnar, the Sejuani, who are going to have those big AoE ultis and damage abilities as the game progresses.
Man, the tanky front line of Giants, it could make or break this entire game. Crazy, crazy stuff. My stats team just pinged me as we're looking at the team comps. First, Skarner in 2018 from any of the 5 major regions. So Jankos debuts that as a whole bunch of champions are removed from the pool.
We did see it banned against Splice, I believe it was, towards Xerxes with his individual random champions that he loves to bring out. But, oh man, this is going to be good. What a great way to start off our day. Giants versus G2. One would typically expect this to be a pretty one-sided matchup, but after the performance of Giants last week, and with the composition that they've drafted, I think they're going to put up a good fight against this G2 Esports line.
Few things to have as expectations. Of course, Giants' vision was so good last week. Let's see if they can not only do that again, but use it to lead the G2 squad going forward. See G2 as they step up to the plate. We talked a lot about that man on your screen, Ruin, going up against Wonder right now. Gangplank versus Gnar. Ladies and gentlemen, we're loading up onto your screen. Going to give a quick shout out to the Dublin City University and the 2018 Collegiate Champions. Ireland representing as they brought 20 plus members here to Berlin to watch the EU LCS. Thank you guys for making the trip out here, and you better give me some noise in game. Skarner, he's got the spires, he's got some control. It's a champion we've not seen a lot of.
I can hear Captain Flowers. He's suddenly woken up in his deep, like, oh, there's a Skarner being played. I must watch. Now, on patch 8.1, Skarner did receive a couple of buffs. His base mana went up, which means that in terms of his early clear, he's going to have more mana available. It's going to make the early jungling a lot easier for him. Also, he had a bit of additional damage added to his Fracture, the E. But the big thing is that the stun duration was increased from 1 second to 1.5. So he has a little bit more utility, and it just adds more value to his ganking prowess. Now, typically, you're not going to see him blind pick, but into tanks, where he's free to scale and build up a lot of his items, that's where you'll start to see him having an impact in the mid-game. The question is, how will Jankos choose to itemize? Will he go for things like the Trinity Force, similar to what we saw from Hecarim in the past, where you have a big mid-game spike and you become this strong duelist? Or will he go for a little bit more utility in the form of things like Iceborne, Gauntlet, and then just full tank?
What would you prefer to see based on expectations? We talked a lot about the Giants' strength and how Giants actually looked pretty good on stage last week. Will Jankos get enough time to build up those items you just talked about?
That's an excellent question. I would like to see Jankos go more towards the utility. I think an Iceborne Gauntlet would be better, especially when you look at this lineup and you think there's not a solid front line on the side of G2. They're going to rely on Jankos a little bit to act as a hard engage, or at least one of the engage tools for the side of G2. So just adding that extra tankiness, I think, will be a lot of value. But as you rightly said, in terms of the early game, we have seen Giants off to some fantastic starts and transition that into very effective early game snowballs.
All right, very effective early game. Man on your screen, Ruin. We watched that clip of how he helped take over a game. But it was some good plays from Joko and Ruin, sort of comboing up, taking charge from the laning phase. If we take a look at the gold leads that Giants were able to improve during their 2 games last week, you can see how before 20 minutes there's those big spikes. You know, went on to win against the Unicorns of Love, but that 10 to 20 minute growth, just something that's really impressive for this sort of ragtag group of players that had fairly low expectations.
I completely agree with you. I think the fact that Giants came in with such low expectations, and then they get these early game leads and know so effectively how to utilize them. A lot of it does come from the duo of Ruin and Joko, in the sense that Ruin is great at getting early leads, and Joko is very good at applying early pressure. And I love that he's now come mid lane to help Betsy through what is a very difficult lane situation, given how far the lane is pushed up against a long-range, poke-heavy champion as it.
Yeah, Perks on that is here. Gonna try to fend off Betsy. Obviously, in these long games, these, you know, late game meta we find ourselves in. I love the fact that Vigo's Q could just continually stack AP.
Oh, yes.
If we have a 40, 50, 60-minute game, the amount of AP that Vigo can scale up will be very, very interesting. Also got Teleport and Unsealed Spellbook. So we'll try to track how and when Betsy decides to utilize the change of summoner spells and play those side lanes.
I'm so excited. I got to talk about the final. Okay. It's such an exciting champion. We don't see it very often. And the reason as to why people consider it a bit of a counter to Azir is because he scales exceptionally well. He has good pick potential with the W, with the, what do you call it?
Event Horizon.
The Event Horizon.
That's his root, and then the W's Dark Matter.
Ah, yes. You are correct. My apologies. But he scales exceptionally well, and that's the big thing. Now, every time Azir, he has to get pretty close to you in these late game fights, right? He wants to try and Shurima shuffle you in the face, and every time he comes close, that ultimate from Betsy is gonna hit hard, extremely hard. It's gonna chunk Azir out very much so, and it's going to make him difficult to have an impact in these later game fights, but it takes him a while to scale. Yeah. In the early laning phase, he's going to take a lot of harassment. You can see he's going to struggle with wave clear, and he's also gone for the minion dematerializer just to help with that early wave clear and get through what is typically a rough laning phase.
And then everybody knows the high skill button. Press R.
Oh, yes.
Deliver primordial burst to the face. We'll see how well Betsy can survive the laning phase, because Perks last week definitely showed up. Stomped on some kids' faces, and one thing Vidish you were talking a lot about was how Perks could then impact the side lanes. He likes to roam and move away. And this is a matchup where he probably could set himself up to do that as well.
I think he can. It's a little harder on the Azir because ideally you want to be scaling up with the itemization, but you rightly say, depending on where the pressure is coming from the junglers, he could look for an early dive. And speaking of, Joko may be setting himself up to apply a bit of pressure onto Wonder.
Right, gets the flash from Wonder, respecting that little dash forward. Yankos will show his face in the bottom line, gets the fracture out. I don't think that core target master flash comes down. Great health will buy some time, and the teleport's being channeled. Ruin showed up for the fight. Giants looking for first blood. Ruin doesn't have Mega Nard though, and throws those boomerangs out, but is able to escape. Summon a heal and exhaust used by G2's bottom lane.
This will allow Wonder to teleport back to lane, but looking mid.
All right, Baby Cage is down. Cleanse and Flash available to Perks. Not going to use it yet. Betsy continues to push forward with that baleful strike. Now Hyanan and Wadid send out the death sentence, and nobody goes down yet. But Yankos, he was looking for that flash stun from those crystal slashes.
I like that Yankos decided to move down to the bot side the moment he saw Joko up top, tried to exchange pressure, make this kind of cross-map play. He's even going to force a flash out from Joko, who was afraid of Wadid coming up to help the G2 jungler. A lot of little skirmishes, lots of bits of action happening in this early game, yet no kills coming down from either side.
Successful ganks on both sides, as summoner spells were at least used by Wonder up in the top lane. A little bit of pressure then to Joko from the bottom lane, but Steelback and Targamas really crucially holding onto their flashes, despite Yankos actually going all in. So let's see what the repeat ganks will do, because that's really where it breaks open, right? Punish that window of opportunity.
Yep. Because the thing is, you would ideally like to go back top and try and set up another gank, but now he's going to have his stopwatch available, and that's one of the reasons why we've seen more Gangplank in the current meta. Typically, his laning phase is very weak. So what you want to try and do is play towards topside, go for early dives, put him in an early deficit, and then just snowball from there. But the stopwatch allows you to make diving that much harder. He then gets to level 6, he has his ultimate, and he can stall for a long period of time.
Ruin started to roam, coming down in behind Wadid. That boomerang will slow Wadid, but the Event Horizon was already used, so a little bit of miscommunication maybe, or mistiming. Betsy had already thrown down that E, and Wadid and Perks able to escape with their lives.
But we can already see Ruin doing what he's done so well in week 1, which is roam around the map, have an impact or elsewhere, because he does have a great laning phase. He often builds pretty significant leads. and then he transitions that to the rest of the team. We talked about it earlier on and how Ruin, he doesn't like to sit in a side lane. He doesn't like to be in the 1v1. He actually just likes to be with his team and impact the rest of them.
Statistically speaking, once we get out of the laning phase, Ruin's stats do take a little bit of a hit. Obviously, then you're playing around the team, you're playing some mid-game decision-making, and I know we keep talking a lot about Ruin, but based on the games from week 1, he is the player to watch. And if he continues to perform and do well, that's where things will get interesting, as Jankos has got his ultimate up and available, so the Impale, the get over here mechanic. And we'll see what juicy targets he can grab, because I think it will eventually get quite difficult, you know. Tom Kench can protect, Event Horizon, all of the scaling and the CC that Anon, a Sedge can do, especially with Ruin gets to go Mega now.
It's the same concept as now a bit of a skirmish here.
Right, the slide, the glide, the Emperor's Divide. Joko does not go oh no yet. There's the Devour coming up from Targamas. Spits out Joko. Joko's impaled. Brought backwards. First blood to Gyonin. Steelback joins the fight. A Golden Scorpion in the middle lane. Killed by Betsy as the fight continues to break out. Cloud Dragon not tagged yet, and Steelback continues to tag. Gets a death sentence to the face as the Mystic Shot from Hyanin are raining down pain from behind. It's a 1-for-1, but G2 got first blood.
They picked up that early kill, and Hyanin gets the double buffs. This is going to do a lot in terms of the 2 versus 2. But really, that was a little too over-eager from the side of Giants. They didn't have the teleport available on Ruin. And remember, Wonder can always influence these fights because of his ultimate too. So have a look here. Giants, they set up vision around the blue side, but because it's Veigar, he doesn't have early push. Joko used his flash earlier on, so he's entirely relying on Targamas to come and save him. He thinks, oh, we've caught out Jankos, we can go for this play, but then Jankos just drags him back into his team and to his demise. Now Jankos unfortunately uses his Zhonya's a little too early, the stopwatch rather, sets up for the trap onto Steelback, and that allows him to be able to get that return kill. But it was so much harder for Giants to commit, because on the back of all this, there was a Gangplank ultimate hitting onto Steelback, hitting onto Betsy, zoning them from the fight, and limiting the amount of impact they could have in this very early game.
And turning to the effects of the play, it's a 1,000 gold lead roughly for G2. Obviously the advantage is being found by Hyanin with first blood and the buffs. Perks and Jankos now getting a little bit bullied on their Sentinel. If you look at the minimap, Betsy, Targamas, Steelback making their way up. Lubis still not yet secured. There goes the baby cage, who actually will catch up, and Jankos is going to win the smite fight. But it denies it from Perks, which is very important. Gives a little bit more breathing room to Betsy in the mid lane. Hyanin takes a tongue lashing from Targamas as he continues to escape. Wadid's death sentence finds Joko. No flash available. He's already used his stopwatch as well. Now Targamas forced to use the grey health. Joko's going to go down in the back end. It's Perks that picks up the kill. Another impale. Targamas goes down. Giants are being pulled apart. Ruin completes the teleport in Mega Gnar form, trying to work with Betsy. Where's the E? Look for the CC. Hyanin's running for his life. No flash available. Not into the wall. Perma stunned for days, and Betsy gets one back.
Good teleport there from Ruin to help turn this fight around for Giants, but it still goes in the favor of G2. Getting 2 kills onto both Targamas and Joko results in the kill advantage going in the red side's favor. So let's have a look at how this play's set up. Joko, again, trying to position very far forward on the map as we freeze frame to set up how everything occurs. I will paint the picture for you. Don't worry, bear with me. So you can see now the ward's littered across the enemy jungle. Giants want to steal away the blue buff. Unfortunately, they failed to do so because you do not have a pushing lane with Veigar. Caitlyn early game doesn't do that damage. And Joko didn't have flash, Trevor. Giants are trying to be true proactive with a comp that is not really designed to be this early on.
And Giants are being punished for it. Down 2,000 gold. Perks 1-0-2. Now, if there is a saving grace, the 2 kills that Giants have picked up is on Betsy's Veigar.
That is a good thing.
That is a very good thing in the scaling sort of champion.
And I know you love to track things, Trevor, so we should keep an eye on how much AP Betsy has been able to build on his passive. I'm sure the observers will be able to help us out with that, because it's going to mean a lot as the game progresses.
It does, and so do these trades. Hyanin and Wadid playing very far forward. There's a teleport coming in from Betsy into the river. Jankos, no flash available. Crystalline Skeleton speed boosters now sidestep. Tongue lashing comes out from Targamas. Ace in the hole for Jankos. Look at the Event Horizon completely cutting off any chance for escape. The Lantern not going to get close enough, but I was ramping up for it. And Joko evens out the kill score at 3-3 for Giants.
Now Jankos is the one to make a mistake. Both sides trying to move into the enemy side of the jungle without those defensive summoner spells and are consistently being punished for it. No action on the top side of the map as of right now. And look, Joko has his ultimate available. Hyana, no summoner spells, but instead they're going to choose to back off. Steal back, no mana, no teleport on Betsy. So both sides just disengage.
All right, threatening that sort of Arctic assault by Joko. Perks, the man on your screen, roaming. Once again, we talked about his roaming last week and his prowess. So look at a little bit of some of his stats. We'll get to that after this replay. And this was, of course, Jankos getting caught just a little overeager.
See, now he feels that with his mid laner back and his bot laner pushing, he can afford to go for this. He doesn't respect the fact that the enemy mid laner has a teleport, cuts off one route of escape. Tahm Kench is able to move up through the tri-bush and is able to cut off his other form of escape. And Jankos ends up getting stuck between a rock and a giant war lady who can freeze him as he just tries to reach the lantern. Unfortunately, able to do so. Now, another gank in the mid.
All right, Joko needs to look for some CC. Glacial Prison thrown out, but Perks' cleanse gets so much value. Devour up in the top lane, Wonder's able to escape with his life. So the three-man dive top is thwarted by Wonder, and Perks manages to shuffle himself to safety. G2 maintain a 2k gold lead.
Jankos, he wants to continue on with the invade as Giants go for that early tower. The great thing you can do with a Tahm Kench is force a tempo advantage. Thanks to the ultimate, it allows you to bring multiple members into a lane much faster than your opposition, gets that turret faster, and they're looking to get that early first blood tower gold. But Hyana, he's lost his minion wave. He's gonna get it.
One or two more shots, and there we go. Tower first blood goes to G2. They got first blood, they've extended that gold lead, and this chaotic start to the game, it's quite refreshing, it's exciting, and it's not over yet. Jankos gets a small stun into Joko.
Fancy no mana.
Yeah, uses the blast cone to safety, so Jankos is able to escape, and now G2, they're the ones with the advantage, they're the ones with the lead. How long will that last? Hyana going toe-to-toe with Ruin, this should be an easy kill here. Ruin just runs him down, and
okay, that was bad.
That was a mistake.
That was awful.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been that overextended. He took the tower, should have gone back to base. Ruin picks up an easy kill. Now Giants, they're set up nicely to be able to take that tier 1 on the top lane. Want to backtrack a little bit because we've talked a lot about Ruin and Joko and their impact in the early game, but Targamas has kind of gone unnoticed and how much he contributes to the early game success of Giants. And it's largely when he plays Tahm Kench. What you'll notice is how often he uses his ultimate to just get involved with the rest of the team, whether it's turning a team fight round in Giants' favor or trying to make these quick tempo plays or take advantage of tempo advantage rather, try and force early towers. It didn't work out this time, but Targamas is a very proactive early support playmaker that has actually contributed a lot to the success of this Giants team.
I mean, this game alone, multiple roams, you know, almost every fight that took place in the river area, Targamas was there, landing tongue lash after tongue lash. And we caught a quick glimpse there again of Betsy being pushed down the lane. He's got teleport available. Perks already up, what's that, 22 CS, but his Nash's 2 completed. Just look at some of his stats from last week. 11 KDA, he had 88% kill participation. He was plus 11 average last week. He was up 15 this game. The Rock for G2 Esports is still performing and trying to control that.
He's had a great 2018 so far, and a lot of eyes are on him right now to really turn this team into the old G2 that had so much success in Europe. And what we saw last week, many fans were surprised by how G2 looked very similar to what we've seen in the past. And so far, right now, yes, they're being a little overeager, but they're still playing the patient game, still scaling up the Azir, the Gangplank, still 2 big champions that we're looking at to see how influential they can be in the later game.
So when G2 lost last week to Rockax, look a lot at sort of what ingredients Rockat put in play. I'll continue that in a moment. Joko's looking forward, he gets knocked back by the Emperor's Divide and impaled by Jankos. Pulled underneath the tower. Sand Soldier's going forward, the Death Sentence catches Targamas. Finally the Event Horizon comes down. That's going to be a powerful disengage tool. Targamas flashes to safety in Ghanan. Arcane shifts forward. The body slam from the ball won't find the target. Nobody's down yet. 4 versus 4 and G2 escaping. True shot barrage almost takes down Targamas. But G2 don't find any kills yet.
Very close skirmish that results in no kills, but should set up the Rift Herald for G2 Esports. They're the ones that come out with the health advantage. A number of Giants members feeling low, but looks like Giants don't want to give up this fight just yet.
Betsy still got that primordial burst. If he can find a target, he
comes
can run him down. Jankos is going to be able to take the Lantern to safety as Perks, with Flash available, looking to fight on the side lanes. Teleport's being channeled up into the top lane. Boulder toss from Ruin won't find a target as Giannis use that arcane shift. It's on cooldown. Tongue lash to the face. 5-man stack of Giants. Now they're the ones split up. Perks trying to zone, apply pressure with the side lane. Not going to find it yet. Nobody goes down, and at 17 minutes, we have had an action-packed game with G2 maintaining the gold leads.
It was really good there from G2 Esports to be able to avoid the Mega Nart from Ruin. They just needed to buy time. They knew that he just wanted to jump into the 5 members, get a big ultimate, and restart the fight. But the disengage was effective, and Giants are unable to find it.
Vedius, at the beginning of this game, we showed the gold graph leads that Giants had built up in week 1. They don't have that this game. They do have some scaling, and they have some good tools still available to them. But it's not the same early game that we saw last week.
And this is where we're going to be looking at Giants and seeing how they adapt now, because we've seen them play with a lead. We know they know how to be proactive. They're a team that likes to just force objectives around the map, especially when Ruin has that advantage. But now they're the ones that are deficit. They don't have that kind of map pressure, and now they're looking for picks.
Perks respects the event horizon and flashes before the animation can complete. So that means it's not available to him. Betsy, of course, also flashed in for that engage. So both mid laners, no flash available. 158 CS for Betsy. 1.5 items complete pretty much across the board. And taking a look at Jankos, he's going the tanky route. Cinder Hulk into a lot of HP stacking for now, Vedius.
Looks like it. May very well build into Dead Man's Plate to give you that extra bit of movement speed. We'll have to see as the game progresses. A lot of damage coming out from this Ezreal in the mid game. Kind of what we'd expect by going for the early Iceborne Gauntlet. This is what Kleptomancy gives you, a lot of gold. Same for the Gangplank. So at this point in the game, G2 a lot stronger than Giants. That's why they're very confident in trying to go for these invades, forcing a lot of these fights in these skirmishes. And Giants, they just need to be a little bit more patient, be a little bit more reserved. But Joko, he's saying, nope, we got to fight more.
No flash available. That's the Glacial Prison. The slide and divide not even going to be enough.
Outplay there from Betsy.
Booped by the Primordial Burst. That one's going to hurt. Ruin tries to pick a fight with Wonder, but that's the 5th kill for Giants.
But G2, they have their eyes set on the tower. Not enough wave clear coming out from Giants. Shannon, using the pressure he has on the Ezreal, will take that advantage. Giants, G2 rather, still hold on to the gold lead. 3,000 now. Let's see if they can answer with this middle turret.
Looks to be a defense set up by G2. Great barrel set up by Wonder. That's going to clear out the wave. So we crest 20 minutes. Here's a replay. Joko has repeatedly ganked mid lane.
Certainly has. He is one of the big early game playmakers on Giants. He's continuing with that trend by constantly looking to apply pressure. Even though he does have 2 deaths thanks to his over-eagerness and over-aggression in the very early game, he has made up for that, allowing Betsy to be able to get 3 kills. What a return to form for Betsy, especially after what was a bit of a rough year for him last year.
Yeah, a lot of struggles. He'll be very excited about the Swain rework announcement.
Oh, yes.
That came out. We'll have to see how that kit works out. Before that, Betsy's got to work through the rest of this game. The first Drake was Cloud. It went to G2 a little over 5 minutes ago, and with Mountain spawning next and mid lane available, mid lane tower still up and available for both teams. Su gets priority, Su gets control there, and generally they can make that first move into the river, start a battle around Vision, let's say.
Now, Wonder doesn't have his teleport, which is why they've got Hyanan and Wadin pushing out top. They'll likely now groove towards the bot side, help push out the mid lane, and then G2 will set up vision control around the Baron area. No members of Giants are actually here to answer. They've kept both Steelback and Targamas up towards top, and this should give G2 the freedom to gain full control of the bot side trade.
Yeah, no real defense yet. Jankos with Flash Impale available. Betsy doesn't have his Flash. Event Horizon comes down. Kench is unbenched, will deliver some additional firepower to the Giants roster, and no opportunity was good enough for Jankos to go over the wall. Ruin rotating from the bottom lane was a big dissuader in that fact, and it's a Warmog's first for Jankos.
Looks like he is just going for that full tank route. keep an eye on the number of engages that we use. Ulti is down for Joko, ulti down for Wonder. Still the Impale on Jankos. I don't think Giants should gamble for this. Just give up the Matt and Drake. Recognize that G2 right now are in the better position to take the fight.
Exactly what they do. Ruin's trying to come in from the side. Meganon's available to him. Joko gets interrupted. The Impale and follows Targamot, saving Joko's life. That means G2 unable to find more. Ruin has committed for the fight. Flash available in Meganon. He wallops forward, catches down Yonin, stuns him with the crunch. He Venturizes and buys some additional time. These fights are going on for days. Now Perkz is the target. He fancies a shot at Joko. The Sand Soldiers will do the work as a primordial burst. Gets one back in reply. Targamot follows us. Well, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of G2, but they also get the Dragon.
I don't know why Giants felt the need to try and fight this. Remember, their comp at this point in the game is not strong enough to take on the full 5v5 lineup of G2. Joko still doesn't even have his ultimate available. The fact that they were able to get a kill out of what looked like a dire situation is really the best case scenario, given what Giants tried so hard to force.
That means the Giants maintain the same tier to a 3,000 gold deficit as we continue to scale up into this mid-game. But the team fights are just so interesting to watch because of the ridiculous amount of CC.
It's always very entertaining. Now, we talked a little earlier about keeping track of Betsy in the middle lane, how much AP he has been stacking. I just had a quick look on the Spectator. 172 AP is what he's gained from his passive so far. He is sitting on 355 ability power, 23 minutes into the game.
With two not huge amounts of AP items.
Yep.
So it's going to be very scary. We also caught a glimpse of Perkz' HP bar when he got chunked out by that primordial burst. I think it'll actually be in this replay.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But here, so Giants just need to disengage at this point. I think they don't want to risk losing the mid lane tower, and they think they can just disengage. But with Ruin on the flank, Giants still feel confident they can go for a fight. But Perkz zones away all 4 members and then just gets a little too greedy. We don't have time, another fight.
Yep, Yonin's dead, and then get caught down, devoured out by Targamot. Joko now moving forward. I'm looking for Betsy to put the E down. Will not find G2 champion. And while we were in that replay, Yonin was caught out. It's 24 minutes into the game. There's 2 tanks on the Giants side, so maybe they're going to start setting up some vision around Baron. And in fact, they're just going to start Abedius.
Wow, this is ambitious from Giants. Ruin is down the bot. They have picked him out. He does have teleport, though, and yeah, he's hanging off on the side. 5
versus 4. Ruin's making his way up. Wonder can join the fray. Cannon Barrage and teleport available as well. It's a good stun onto the root. Targamot uses the Devour to keep Betsy alive. TP complete from Wonder. Here comes Ruin. Megadon's going to be available. Jankos goes all the way forward. Jankos caught, and it's a double kill for Ruin. The man we talked about, the carry that Giants needs.
9-5 in kills now in the favor of Giants. They didn't want to commit to the objective. They just wanted to bait out a couple of summoner spells. Teleport used from Wonder. They got 2 kills onto 2 members of Giants. This will now give Giants an opportunity to better force and play around that big neutral objective now that they will have double teleports on their side. Giants forcing so many skirmishes, trying to fight as often as possible, even though they're at this point in the game, shouldn't really be winning out on these fights, are playing them so well that they're able to come out on top.
Of course, this one started in that 4v sort of 3.
Yes.
Look at your mini-map. It's Ruin coming up from behind that really helps push Giants over the edge.
Exactly that. So they're just buying time to allow Ruin to get a great event Horizon to lock up these multiple members. Remember, Yonin is dead as well, and then Ruin joins the fray. So much continuous ground control coming out from this Giants roster just allows them to stack it up multiple times over and over a repeated extended fight. Things like the Sejuani passive, the Tom Kench passive. It's so obnoxious and so difficult to disengage from.
Ruin just using the Mega Knock, pulls Jankos in range, and that means Jankos gets his 3rd death of the game. Giants, they're still behind, but it doesn't feel like they're out of control yet.
Oh yeah.
Very clear that they've taken a few punches as Wadid's death sentence goes just a little bit wide. Joker's able to escape with his life. 2 teleports up on the side of Giants, and now we need to see how good is Giants' mid to late game. They actually lost to Vitality last week because their mid to late game wasn't the greatest, wasn't the cleanest, and Giants are also in a deficit this game as well.
So they're quite happy though, because last time when they played up against Vitality, their team actually got outscaled, but given the position they're in, the deficit they're at, considering how well their comp does scale, I think they're fine. The Joker's in some serious trouble.
He is indeed. Devour from Targamot, flash over the wall. Perkz is looking for the Emperor's Divide. Not yet thrown. That's on cooldown. It's on cooldown. Over the wall. Man, oh man, Yankos is hungry. From Ruin, he's teleported into the back. Nobody's died yet. So everybody's going golden. Finally, Yankos is the first to fall. How did Joko and Tagama survive? Perks is running away with his life, and Ruin saves the day again.
Fantastic team fight once more from Giants. G2 grouping up in that little choke point is ideal for this Gnar, for the Vigar to just unleash their damage and turn the fight around. They're still at a goal deficit though, Quick Shot. And now the Baron has been started. G2, they want to see if they can rush this down.
Betsy's got a teleport available, but not really a close enough ward. Blue Trinket thrown just to reveal G2, and Joko has moved in. His presence alone sends G2 packing. All of a sudden, Giants, maybe with the positioning, maybe with the timing. They've started off Baron, 4-man in the pit, Ruin coming up from behind, and Yankos is not with the team yet.
He's building up that Gnar bar. He has had the Azir ult used on him too.
Ruin's about to mega Gnar out. Perks is running very, very low. Baron is the focus for the rest of the Giant squad. It's a split, it's a fight, it's secured by Joko. Giants get the buff, and so far they're getting away.
Does he get out?
With the crunch, gets a wallop. Running for his life. The barrel is burst, and the kill is secured by Wonder.
He sacrifices his life for the good of the team, but Giants secure the Baron. This is what we were excited for, Quick Shot. People thought initially that G2 would just come in and smash Giants, but after last week's performance, Giants are showing that they are contenders. They're showing that there are weaknesses to this G2 lineup, and they are punishing them at every opportunity.
G2 Esports look to secure the 3rd Dragon of the game. 4th, in fact. I'm going to believe those graphics at the top, so that's a big investment as we continue to scale, but great decision-making from Giants.
So we have to go back to the first team fight where all of this started. Tarkman's trying to keep Joko alive. Perks then doesn't have his ultimate. That's what they were relying on to get the initiation off. Instead, Yankos has to flash, and then look at Ruin here. Beautiful wall. TP into the 3-man Gnar ultimate. You got Betsy just sitting on the sideline, getting all these event horizons of damage off. And it's just a perfect setup for Giants to turn this around. Then they force the Baron. They know they can do this. G2, rather than commit to try and fight for the Baron, knowing that they don't have the jungler, they just try to kill Ruin. You have to question the decision-making here from G2 to try and commit onto the top lane, or rather than contest that big objective. But it ends up in 1 kill, but a Baron going for jungle.
So exciting. Giants, the one remaining member in the 2017 squad, qualified. He is showing up big time. We're getting to 30 minutes in the game. Baron is up on several members of the Giants squad. And regardless of today's result, G2 will play Fnatic tomorrow. But what a morale hit it will be if they lose another game. Joko waiting in the wings. Glacial Prison's available to him. And Vedius, Giants have set their sights on this mid-outer turret.
I remember, for a lot of this game, we were talking about how Giants don't want to be fighting right now. Giants, they want to scale up. They've got there, Quick Shot. They have the 3 items. Look at this Caitlyn. Going to be hitting so much harder now. Betsy finishing off the Void Staff. Yes, G2 still have a lot of damage, and they're not completely out of this game yet, but Giants should feel much more confident trying to force these fights moving forward.
Right, they played with a lot of confidence already. 3 item spikes starting to crest. Void Staff is Betsy's 3rd item. Vedius, what's his AP stacking at the moment? Well, you check that on your clients. G2 are trying to push Betsy and the rest of the Giants away.
227 has been stacked up. 532 AP in total right now.
Oh, that hurts. His Primordial Burst right now up to around 1,300 damage before adding some of the additional AP from his opponent. That is scary.
That is very scary. That's why there's a Banshees on top of Perks right now, showing the respect, recognizing, hey, if he just can only use the ulti on me, at least I can try and block it out.
Let's talk about some of the itemization in a moment. Death Sentence from Windid goes a little wide. Joko gets eaten out by the Impale. Event Horizon buys some time. The box is laid to the side. It looks like a Venn diagram of AoE CC, but it will not be anyone dead yet. Fight continues to temper expectations. Ruin with Mega Gnar, no flash available. That's going to be enough to at least zone G2 from defending their tower. No minions though, means defense is up, means tower stays alive.
And Ruin once again looking for this flank, trying to force his way into the fight. Wonder level 16, doesn't have the ultimate available. They're doing their best, but this tower is sure to fall. The issue that G2 are having right now is really finding a way, or have struggled to find an effective way to force a fight onto the Giants roster. Because remember, their only effective engage is Yankos running in, getting a flash hook onto someone, trying to just be obnoxious, get onto the backline. There are no QSSs yet, but that's because he's only ever used his ulti on Joko or Targamas, the frontliners for Giants. He's never yet found a flank onto the backline and threatened those carries of Giants.
Man, such a good game from Joko, helping out the lanes that were struggling. Joko was the jungler that had the second highest jungle proximity last week, meaning he spent the second highest amount of time around his laners in comparison to all the other junglers in the league. In this game, there was numerous visits to that mid lane, you know, making sure that Perkz wasn't able to completely steamroll Betsy. And then thanks to some of those skirmishes, Betsy was the early recipient of those kills.
So it's slowing down a little
scraps.
bit now. Yeah, it's very true. Joko, he's had a great impact in the early game, but things are calming a little bit now. Betsy has hit the magical level 16. That now means he has 3 points in his ultimate quick shot. That means it hits even harder, and that's going to be terrifying for Perkz if he goes anywhere near that mid laner of Giants.
Yes, going to definitely be able to burst them down. Total damage this entire game, no real surprise.
Ezreal always a little higher just because the amount of poke he throws out, but in terms of straight up crits, you can see that Steelback, he kind of has a bit of an edge now that he's got 3 hours.
Oh, he does. Steelback's got a license to kill the 007 scoreline, and will he find it now? Joker comes over the wall with the Glacial Prison. Event Horizon prevents Jankos going any further. Steelback turns his attention over to the inner turret, while Ruin is zoning away Wonder. Death Sentence goes down, but it might be a problem for Jankos. Forced to use that lantern to escape to safety. Now all of a sudden G2 trying to pick up the table scraps. That 3,000 gold lead they had is dwindled to 800, and that is insignificant at this stage of the game. And the level of confidence that Giants are playing.
It's great to see Giants continue with this kind of performance. Ocean Drake will be up in about 45 seconds, along with the Baron, but the Vision game now begins around these big neutral objectives. G2 have done a great job of maintaining control on the side of the map of Giants. They want to make sure that they see as much as possible, allowing them to set up for this big neutral objective. And Giants, they have slacked a little bit, but it's because of how many skirmishes and little fights they've been trying to force it.
Oh, it's just such an exciting start to the split. You know, G2 already lost last week to Roccat. They're starting to have an exciting game here with G2. 35 minutes in, we've had a lot of action, a lot of fights, and no super clear advantage yet. You know, both teams have had good moments and slightly messy ones. And now we enter that late stage of the game. Wonder, Infinity Edge to go along with his Phantom Dancer Triforce. That is a very scary gangplank.
Yep, this is the late game gangplank we were talking about. Late game Azir as well. Both of them going to hit exceptionally hard, but can they get onto those backline threats? Can they get through this tanky front line of Ruin and Joko, who really have just hard committed to being a front line?
Well, G2 uncontested on all of the dragons so far, really. They've had the timing. That means Elder will come up just after 40 minutes. It won't be a problem with Baron if one of the teams can look to pick that up. But as we're in a 35-minute game space, Flash is available for Jankos, not going to need it. Gets the Impale and the Lantern combination. Jankos, now the man that's in trouble. Perkz gets the Shurima shuffle down. Targamas is up. Jankos is going low. Steelback is going to protect him. That's a great mega knock from Ruin. Sets up Betsy and Steelback to knock them down. Wonder is out, and Steelback walks away with a double.
It started off with such a promising fight for G2, but they could again only hit onto the front line. Betsy and Steelback were allowed to reposition, and once they did, Ruin set them up, and the carries hit it home. Fantastic fight for Giants, and they secure themselves another tower.
What more can they take? Event Horizon is available for Betsy to push Jankos away, but he fancies a shot at the mid inhibitor turret. Giants have split up somewhat as the inhibitor top now falls. Betsy is going to get some assistance from a teleport, this time coming down from Ruin. Keeps alive the cannon minion, continues to put the pressure onto G2. They've lost one inhib, and they're at risk of losing another.
Giants they're going to be happy with taking the one inhibitor, but G2 want to try and keep the chase going. Remember, Baron is alive, so Giants, if they all just recall right now, there's the risk that G2 just rush this objective down. They have to make sure they can see what G2 is up to before they go back and spend some of their gold. What a fantastic setup for Giants. They now hold on to the gold lead. Giants looking for another.
Yeah. Ooh, looking for the opportunity. Going fishing with an Event Horizon. And all of a sudden, Giants now, after being behind for
the vast majority of this.
Let's say the last 30 minutes. You know, they've been behind in goal, they've been under pressure. They now take map control thanks to this play.
Now, Targamas, he's just trying to catch up Jankos. They drag him in. Fantastic combo with the Thresh and the Skarner. But now they're in this choke point again. And just keep your eyes on Ruin at the bottom of the fight. He jumps in. He gets the multi-man ultimate off. Betsy's sitting there dealing all of his AoE damage. And Steelback is left untouched on the sides. This is how you want to be playing this comp from Giants. Front line is, funnily enough, in the front, soaking up the damage. And the back line, just look at how much damage it is as another fight starts off.
All right, let's see. Jankos manages to escape. Glacial Prism was used. Nothing further. Can I get an update on Betsy? He's got a Rabadon's death cap completed.
Oh god, 1006 AP.
And what's the bonus on his Q from their Baleful Strike?
290 ability power.
That's more AP than I can buy in most of my games, and he's picked it up for free just farming.
1000 ability power. That is insane. His ultimate does around about 2000 damage just raw. Before resistances, etc. So, G2, how on earth do they deal with the primordial burst? A burst can deal that much damage. Baron has started, no real contest yet. Yana finally gets in range. That's low.
Shot spam. Baron will be secured. Smited down by Joko, the death sentence. While it gets a target, there's no additional follow-up. Perks was zoned away by Ruin, who went Mega Null once again. Ruin has a huge backpack, and the Giants are in it.
What a fantastic game from Giants overall. I thought this would be a close game, but I wasn't expecting Giants to play like this. Constant skirmishing in the early game. Sure, a little overextended at times. G2 did a good job of punishing some of the mistakes the Giants made, but Giants have played so effectively around this Baron. They've utilized the spikes of their composition to force a lot of these mid to late game opportunities, and they've just ran away with it. Now they've just secured their second Baron of the game very cleanly. G2 had 0 answers, and now they've got their eyes set on the Nexus to shut down G2.
Oh, Giants 1-1 from last week. Lost to Vitality after having an early lead. Bounced back this game. They were in a deficit. Behind in gold, behind in towers, behind in tempo, and they have the scrappiness, they have the team fights. And they're now sticking it to G2. How does G2 defend? Going to be relying on Perks and Hyonin. Stay alive, avoid all of that CC, all of that control. Fortunately for them, they can do pretty well with the wave clear. Only chipping down that inhibitor turret ever so slightly. Joko's the target of the Impale, and Giants now making their way. 5-man stack from G2, they've initiated the fight. Betsy's flashed forward, the Event Horizon blocking any follow-up. Perks is already down. Hyonin gets burst, that's 50% from the R. Steelback's looking to chunk him out. Crit to the face, Naruto cheering on the Giants as they're on the Nexus turrets. The first starts to fall. G2 cannot defend, they cannot stop the Giants, and the Nexus is the focus. And the Giants will take down G2. What a way to ruin their day!
You just had to get it in there, didn't you, Quick Shot? But my word, fantastic performance all throughout. Look at the smiles on the faces of Giants. What a great game. They were in a deficit for the vast majority of this, but they relied on the scaling of their composition. They were able to teamfight just so effectively. You also have to criticize some of the plays made by G2. Jankos only ever ulting the front line of Joko. Never able to threaten this back line. And G2, they never really found any opportune fights. Never really able to successfully snowball the early lead that they had built and kind of answer the fantastic play from Giants.
The defending champion G2 Esports now 1-2 after 3 days of games. Betsy and Hyonin each other a hug, as well as we did, of course, former teammates. This time around, Betsy and the Giant squad just playing so well. It was scrappy, it was messy.
Yeah.
And I said this a little while ago, Giants, a lot of people not looking at them, not really talking about them.
I put them at D in my expectations coming into the split. They were right at the bottom alongside Roccat. Both have defied my expectations. They are rapidly rising through the ranks. I thought that maybe just week one was a bit of luck. Maybe they had good opposition and that they were also new teams, new rookies. But no, these guys, they definitely know how to play some League of Legends. And Ruin, oh my, so many good Gnar ultimates this game. So many good flanks. Just so many good things to say about this team.
I mean, the right place, the right time, the majority of the time. And while I know we are giving Ruin a huge amount of praise, the rest of the team all stepped up as well. Steelback's positioning that game was mostly flawless.
Oh, yeah.
Went unkilled throughout the game. His Caitlyn was great. And we didn't talk a lot about Steelback from last week. He had a wishy-washy 2017, but he's open 2018 with a statement.
And then Targamas with the Tom Kench too, not only were his roams great, sure, they weren't quite able to get that first turret that they would have liked, but every fight that started, he was there with the AD carry, making sure they were involved. Every time Joko got ulted, nope, I'm going to take you to safety. I'll sacrifice my life to make sure that you survive. And his Gideon wasn't even that bad. 3, 3, and 7 at the end of it. I mean, consider how much focus was thrown onto this guy.
Really, really good.
He's had a great performance. And the 2 rookies on Giants, great stuff.
It's exciting. I mean, I know when he's best in one. I know it's early in the split, right? And these teams have still got to grow and adapt. But to see heavy favorites from past seasons start to take some losses, it sets us up for some great mid-season results and exciting stories.
But also just, you look at the players, you know, Wonder, Yankos, Perks, you sit there and you think these guys are stars in many of their respective roles. And then you look at players like Joko, Steelback, Betsy, who did not have a great 2017.
Yep.
They did not look like they were up there. But you put a couple rookies in there, you jumpstart the kind of fire within them,
about it,
and they look so good.
Some of those guys potentially last chance. Guys that have been around, bouncing between teams. You know, it's words that you can't, that are somewhat justified. So we'll have to see. I mean, it's a great performance. It's a great win. For a little bit more on exactly how Giants did that, we're going to go down to Joko, who's standing by with the newest member of the EU LCS broadcast team.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I'm here, joined by Joko, the jungler of Giants, after this first win of the week. How are you feeling today?
It feels amazing to win versus G2 because like I always lost versus them and it's just amazing.
Well, I mean, new year, new team, and you're 2-1 already. Were you expecting to win today? How did you prep for the game?
Yeah, like we were pretty confident because like we saw they are like kind of struggling with like versus Rocket and other teams. So we were like confident and yeah, everything went pretty well for us.
And it really go really well for you. I mean, we're going to talk a bit more about the game, especially the Skarner pick, because even though it seems like an interesting choice, it didn't work that well, did it?
Yeah, like today we had some warm-up game versus Splice and they actually like play Skarner, so we were like, okay, people can play Skarner versus Sejuani, so we were like, can that prepare, you know? And yeah, we were used, you know, to play versus Skarner, so yeah, I think it's good pick, but didn't go well for them.
I said it before, but it's a really promising start for Giant this year after the kind of a slump you had last year. How do you feel about this split, and what are your expectations with Giants?
Yeah, after this game, we can see that like we are pretty like coordinated in team fight. Like we are actually more like really good in team fight. We speak a lot, and I think we can do pretty good because we like confident, you know, to each other. We trust each other, and we trust our coach, and it's like based on like good atmosphere in the gaming house. So yeah, I think we can go. Like we can do pretty good this split.
And we'll see how it goes from there. And that's all for us on this side of the stage. We're going to take a quick break, and right after we'll come back with Rocket versus Splice. Don't go anywhere.